Before we talk about this weekend, I'd just like to address the fact that we just got news that Augie Garrido has passed away. And so I just want to send our respects from Gamecock Baseball, from me personally, to the family. It's one of the greats in our game. Had a lot of historic moments, and he had such a great influence on our game, on so many coaches and players. So I just want to send our respects to the family. Sad day for college baseball. So with that, be happy to take questions for this weekend.
Raise your hand, I'll get Mike. We'll go with Jonathan Andrew.
Just to kind of follow up on that, what kind of interactions have you had with Augie, if any, in the past?
Well, you know, would run into Augie in Omaha. I remember spending some time with him in Omaha. I believe it was '05. When I was with Tulane, spent some time with him. They have a picnic and autograph sessions, and I remember running into him and spending some time there. Obviously, people that I worked with, whether it's Coach Tanner, whether it's Rick Jones and Jim Morris, had close relationships with him. Trip Couch, one of our assistants, our director of baseball, player development, worked with Augie. And so, you know, just you don't work at college baseball without knowing his impact. And then there was a video, a documentary on Augie Garrido, that it's about a 90-minute video, just taking him through a season, following him with his press conferences and his interactions with his team, locker room conversations, etc. And I would show that to my team every single year. And it was usually if we were in a little bit of a funk and we wanted to get the guys out of it and just get their minds right, because he was, you know, such a great ambassador for the game, but also looked at the game a little bit different than the rest of us, and maybe a little bit higher level in terms of what it meant to players, the mentality of it, what it took to be successful. So it was great to meet him in person, but also just him having an impact on every team I've coached as a head coach through that documentary, I think has also been extremely valuable.
Mark, looking ahead to this series, do you think there's in your opinion, a better pitching matchup than tomorrow night? And how can Adam kind of feed? I know he's just facing Florida's lineup, but how can a pitcher feed off sharing a mound with someone like Singer?
Yeah, I think if you're a pro scout tomorrow night, this is the place to be. You have two of the top pitching prospects in the country that will be here in Founders Park. So I would anticipate a great scouting presence in our ballpark tomorrow night. And I just think competitors love being on that stage. I think a couple weeks ago when Adam was here against Clemson, that was a huge stage, a lot of attention on that series, and you saw how he rose to the occasion. I anticipate him having the same approach tomorrow night. You're going to have two great pitchers going at it. It's going to be entertaining for fans, for media, for scouts. I anticipate a great ball game.
Mark, what can going up against the reigning national champion really do for your team?
Well, it's a great test. Obviously, they're ranked in most polls 1 or 2 right now, so it's a complete team. We've scouted them. Obviously, I think their offense is better this year than it was last year. Their pitching rotation has potentially 3 first-rounders in it, so it's a great test. Whether we win or lose, it's not the end of the season. It's not make or break. So we're going to attack each game, trying to go 1-0 each day, like we always do. But I think it'll be 2 teams that are getting after it, and we're going to be prepared and ready to go.
I think Noah's hitting about .421 over the last 5 games, 3 extra base hits, handful of stolen bases as well. Just how unique of a player is he, especially at the college game, with what he can do for you guys?
He's a nice speed and power package, and obviously his speed has played more so far than the power, but I think the power, as he continues to grow as a hitter, will show up as well, because he does have 100+ exit velocity. He can't hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's just a dynamic player. He's a guy we're very lucky to have. I love coaching the kid, and he helps you win games, and on top of that, he's a 4.0 student, so he's everything you look for in a player. And I think he'll only continue to get better because he works very hard. He's very smart, and those are the kind of players that when you're that talented, you work that hard, and you're very intelligent, those are the guys that really have great careers.
If you were writing the SEC schedule, is this the way you would open it, or would you rather ease into it maybe a little differently, or do you like this matchup right out of the gate?
Well, I don't know if you can use SEC and ease in the same sentence. Yeah, there's so many great teams in the league this year. I think in some polls you have 6 teams in the top 10, and I think we're playing all of them. So every game is a grind. Every game is going to be a great challenge for us. So I don't think there's any right or wrong way to set up a schedule. I think you see who's on your schedule, you prepare for them, and you go get it. That's the only way you can approach it. You don't back down from anybody. You prepare yourself well, and then you leave it all on the field when it's time to play.
You're right, Jeff.
Mark, y'all have obviously made a lot of progress in the last 5 games with runners in scoring positions and getting that key hit. How confident are you can carry that over into the Florida series?
Well, obviously, their pitching's a great challenge, and having faced them twice last year when I was at South Florida, you have an idea what they're going to do when you get runners in scoring position. So you just have to be prepared for it, and being prepared for it and actually executing the at-bat can be 2 different things. So we'll be prepared. But it's a great challenge. These guys are potential first-round picks for a reason. They have great stuff. So it's up to us to make sure that we have a plan, we have an approach, and then once that game starts, you've got to execute.
You touched on this earlier, saying that you feel like Florida's better offensively. How have they changed from last year? I know you're real familiar with the program.
Yeah.
How are they better offensively, and how has this team changed from?
Just looking at the stats, across the board, their average is up, their power is up. It just looks like players have improved. Schwartz is having the kind of year again like he had earlier in his career. You have guys that are getting better, they're evolving as players, and so just all around their offense it's more productive. There's more power there, and they're stealing bases as well. So it's an offense that has evolved.
Colin?
Touched on it a little bit last night, but do you feel like this team is playing its best baseball of the season heading into SEC play?
I think we're playing really good baseball. We're not where I want to be yet because I want all 9 hitters in our lineup to be hot. I want all of our pitchers to be pounding the strike zone at all times. And then they still think we're leaving a couple plays occasionally defensively on the field. There was a double play we needed to turn yesterday. But that being said, I think if you look at our numbers across the board, we're doing most things at a pretty high level right now. So from that standpoint, I'm pretty pleased. But our coaching staff and our players are always looking to take that next step and get better.
Back to Mike.
Mark, what are some of the positives about playing this series so early in the conference schedule, and maybe some of the negatives as well? It can't be super ideal to open conference play with the defending national champs, but
well, I don't think you can. We're not going to say that there's anything negative about it. It's a great opportunity. It's one of the best teams in the country, and we get to play them in our park. I don't look at that as a negative. I look at it as an opportunity and something we can build on. If we win games, that'll be great. If we don't have the kind of weekend we want from a win-loss standpoint, we'll still learn a lot about our teams. We'll learn what we need to continue to improve in. We'll learn where we're solid. It's all positive from my standpoint. It's going to be 2 teams getting after it, and once again, we're gonna attack it, and whatever happens, happens. But we're not going to back down from anybody at any time, and I think we'll take a lot of positives out of this weekend.
Go John and Andrew.
Mark, how would you assess the first few times to the mound for John and TJ?
You're talking about Gilreath and Shook?
Yeah.
Been very impressed with him. TJ has taken that next step. It's a kid that was redshirted last year. His velocity is a little bit up. He's gotten a little more physical, and he pounds the bottom of the strike zone. You generally will not get walks out of TJ, and that's one of the big reasons why he's been successful. Stuff with strikes tends to get you a lot of outs, and so been real happy with his progress. Gilreath, once again, we've said it and talked about it some. It's really impressive what he's done as a guy that should be a senior in high school right now. But he's a Gamecock fan through and through. He's proud to be a part of this program now as anybody, and when he's on the mound, he's competing hard, not just for himself, but for his team, for this program, for the fans, and that's big. And he's got stuff. He's a fastball up to 91, good breaking ball, good changeup. So, been very pleased with both those guys.
You spoke last night about obviously your offense clicking a little bit, particularly those first 4 guys. what is the challenge tomorrow night against a guy like Singer? Like, what sticks out about him and facing him?
Well, he's got 3 really good pitches, starting with the 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So he's going to attack you, and you just have to be prepared to attack back. When the pitch is there and he makes a mistake, you can't miss it. It's like any other great pitcher. I mean, we're going to face a lot of great pitching in this league starting this weekend, and it's no different than any baseball at any level. When you face great pitching, you have to have an approach, and when you get your pitch, you have to take advantage of it. You can't miss it, because if you miss it, then there's ways that they can try to get you out, and that's why hitting is so hard to begin with. So, at the end of the day, it's still baseball. It's pitcher versus hitter. He has a plan, you have a plan, and let's see who executes better.
Eddie was a Miami guy and then went to Florida. What do you remember out of him as a recruit? And do you see anything different in him this week going against a school where he played?
No, I mean, just we've known Eddie to be exactly what he is, a very competitive guy, a guy that has good stuff, and a guy that competes really hard. So I haven't seen any difference in him this week. I just think he's a competitor every day of the week, every day of the year. Haven't seen any difference in him so far this week.
Last year, Carlos kind of did what he's doing this year. He struggled in the first 20 games or so, and then when we got to SEC play, he turned it on and he got hot. Do you see signs of possibly that happening?
I think so. I think he had his, if I'm not mistaken, his first multi-hit game last night. Had a home run the day before, so I think he's trending in the right direction. And I actually asked him the other day, so tell me when you started getting regular playing time last year, and he said 3 weeks from now. So, I think it's far too early to panic with him. For whatever reason, some guys start slow, but then once they get going, they can carry you. And so once we get to the point where he's hot again like that, I think that just combined with Tolbert and Stokes and TJ's development and Campbell's a dynamic addition to our offense. Once we get Carlos going the way we know he can too, that gives me great optimism.
Now, you kind of touched on this a little bit, that top 4 of your lineup having that really solid production. How have you been trying to get that production to travel throughout the rest of the lineup? You said you wanted to make sure you have the strong hitters 1 through 9, especially going into the conference play.
Well, we just work hard with all our hitters, period. Every guy we try to maximize, and so you try to get every guy getting hot at the same time and being at their best at the same time. Unfortunately, baseball does not allow that. It's a hard game. That's why 300 batting averages are the best of the best. And so it's hard to get all 9 guys going at the same time. That's your goal. You just work hard every day with each guy to try to make sure you're maximizing what they can do.
Back with Mike.
Mark, obviously this year's Florida team is different than last year's, but you did face them a few times, one, and I think in regional play last year in Gainesville. Can that help at all sort of with this year's team, maybe that you don't have to start from ground zero with some of those scouting reports and everything?
Well, we're familiar with style of play, obviously, and we're familiar with a lot of their players through the recruiting process, through playing them last year, both in the regular season and in the postseason. So, yeah, there's a familiarity. At the end of the day, though, it's still players executing versus players executing. So I think we'll go into it maybe a little bit different than maybe when we play Arkansas or those teams, because we won't have as much familiarity from being face-to-face with them. So it's just one more thing that maybe gives you a little bit of help in preparing.
Any more questions for Coach?
All right. Appreciate it.